Hello and welcome to another Talk to Stu information and advice video. So in this video we are going to be talking about access to work, but if you're new to my channel and you find this video useful and you want to get more content like this, although I'm quite sporadic in how I deliver that content, please do like, share and subscribe. And if you want to join in with any of our live shows, we do 2 a month. One is a Q&A where I take questions on benefits, generally around personal independence payment, universal credit, employment support allowance, things like that. Or we also do a health and wellbeing podcast, me and my partner, which the next one is coming up next Tuesday, I think. And with that, we sort of talk about all things related to health and social care, that sort of thing. And the next one is going to be about care, care in the home, care in a care home, what qualifies as care, are you a carer, all those kind of things. So we're going to be getting into those kind of questions there. So it's worth don't kick it. It's worth clicking the notification bell, and you can join us for one of those. We usually do them Tuesday nights about 7 p.m. twice a month. It tends to vary which Tuesdays we do them on. It was the first Tuesday of the month to start with, but due to health issues it's moved to the second Tuesday of the month and the last Tuesday of the month. So but that may change in the future. So click the notification bell and you'll stay up to date. Anyway, enough of that. Let's get into what is access to work, and is it something that you can apply for? Will it benefit you? Will it help you? And what's the process to go through to apply for it? So what access to work is essentially a financial payment that goes to you, usually in the form of a grant, to help pay for practical support with your work. It might be to support you with managing your mental health at work, or it might be some money to pay towards communication support at job interviews, things like that. And it could be any sorts of things. So it might be a BSL interpreter that comes with you to work, or lip speakers or note takers. Could be adaptations to your vehicle so that you can get to work or even do some work. For example, you might be a taxi driver who has had a leg injury of some kind and can't operate a vehicle in the way that they used to. Maybe it'll pay for an adaptation there. Equally, it might cover taxi fares for you to get to and from work. For example, I used to work with a local sight loss charity, and we used access to work for a number of members of staff who had sight loss themselves and needed to travel in to work at the organisation. It's always important to have people with a lived experience of sight loss on your staff at a sight loss organisation. So we help them with getting the access to work grant so that they could afford taxi fares to come in. Now, it might even be money towards getting a support worker or job coach to help you in the workplace. Or it might even be something more simple. If you've got a physical disability and you're working in an office, maybe it's that you need a specialised chair or a specialised desk, something like that. So those are the kind of things that access to work is. Now, how do you know if you're eligible for this? Well, first of all, you must have a physical or mental health condition or disability that means you need support to do your job or get to and from work. So that's the first thing. You have to be over the age of 16. You must be in paid work or about to start or return to paid work in the next 12 weeks. And you must live and work or be about to start or return to work in England, Scotland or Wales. If you're in Northern Ireland, there's a different system. There are slightly different eligibility criteria for communication support at a job interview, and those are obviously if you're deaf or hard of hearing, or have a physical or mental health condition or learning difficulty and need communication support. So, what is coming next then? Right, so your disability, illness or health condition, what sort of things would qualify? Well, physical disability, for example, if you're hard of hearing or use a wheelchair. A learning disability or related condition, for example, you may have Down syndrome. If you have a developmental condition like autistic spectrum disorder, a learning difficulty or differences like ADHD or dyslexia, an illness such as diabetes or epilepsy, a temporary condition like a broken leg, or a mental health condition, for example, anxiety or depression. And you don't need to be diagnosed with a condition to apply for mental health support. So the type of work that you need to be in, it can be full-time or part-time. It can include standard employment where you have a PAYE number and pay tax through your employment. It could be self-employment where you manage tax yourself or run a business. It could be an apprenticeship, a work trial or work experience, an internship, or a work placement. You cannot get access to work, however, if you're doing voluntary work. So you can still apply for access to work also if you're working from home because of coronavirus or COVID-19, depending on what you prefer to call it. So you can get support from access to work regardless of how much money you earn or have in savings, and you can get it at the same time as most benefits as long as you work more than 1 hour a week. If you're getting employment support allowance, you can get access to work and employment support allowance at the same time if you work less than 16 hours a week. Okay? There are rules about working while claiming employment support allowance, and that's something that you should ask your work coach for advice and support on that. So that's the eligibility criteria. How do you actually do the application? Well, you apply online first of all, and you can find the application very easily. Just type access to work into Google or whatever search provider you use, and it will pretty much be the top result. And you get taken through to www.gov.uk/access-to-work/apply, and you have a little green button floating in the middle of the screen which says apply online. So you click on that and you then go through and fill everything in. Now, if you need support with this, it's something that maybe you can ask your employer to support you with, and equally it could be that you need to get support from a friend or neighbour, a carer, family member, somebody like that. It's quite a simple form to fill in, to be fair. It's not too difficult at all. What you'll need to give over is your contact details. You'll need to inform them of your workplace address and postcode, the name of a workplace contact who confirm you work there, and they won't be contacted without your permission, the email address or work phone number of your workplace contact. If you're self-employed, you will need your unique taxpayer reference UTR number, and you will need some information about how your condition affects your work and what support you think you'll need. So you will have to tell them a bit about your condition and how that's impacting you at work, what it is that's difficult for you to do. So it might be travelling into work, it might be talking in meetings where you need to have an interpreter with you if you're doing certain kinds of meetings, things like that. So you just have to explain what your health condition is and how it affects you. Now, it does ask a couple of questions. Are you claiming employment support allowance and things like that as well? That's more to look to see if you are within the working hours commitment that you have under employment support allowance. So do be aware of that. You can also apply by phone. So if you've got difficulty with accessing it online, you can phone the phone number, which is 0800 121 7479. If you prefer to use a text phone, it's 0800 121 7579. If you use Relay UK, you can use 18001, then 0800 121 7479. And there's a video relay service as well if you use a computer and want to use British Sign Language. So the phone lines are open Monday to Friday, 9 to 5 a.m. and call charges will be based on your phone service. It is a free phone service, but do check with your mobile provider that they cover free phone 0800 numbers. Okay. So that's about the size of it. It can be very useful. It's a very simple process to go through, but it also does take quite a long time for them to make a decision. So it can be 14 weeks or more before you actually get a decision on this. So if you are applying for a job for the first time, then that's something to bear in mind when you are having those discussions with your new employer or potential employer, if it's something that you will need to be able to start the job, because that might factor into when your start date would be. If you're already doing a job, you have the right to ask your employer for a reasonable adjustments review. So if you've got a mental health condition, a physical health condition, or any of the things that we mentioned earlier, if those things are impacting you at work, you have a right to ask your employer for a reasonable adjustments interview, and access to work might be something that's discussed as part of reasonable adjustments. So for example, with me, I have fibromyalgia and that causes me a lot of pain and discomfort. So part of my reasonable adjustments is how much time do I spend sitting at a computer? Do I need to move around? If I'm in a meeting, do I need to get up and move around? Those kind of things. What's my working pattern like? So that's another element of it. You know, do I work, 9 to 5, or do I do it in sections? Do I work part-time? I do work part-time. And if I work part-time, what flexibility do I have with the hours I do and the work that I do? Does it all need to be done between 9 to 5? Can some be done outside of those hours? Those kind of things. Access to work comes in more of a area where there's an actual financial need to do something. So in my case, I might apply for it for a properly supportive chair to help me manage longer periods where I'm sat at my desk typing or sending emails or whatever. But it depends on you and your needs. For somebody who might have a condition like dyslexia, it might be that there are things that your employer is prepared to meet the costs of within its budget anyway, and there's no real need to apply for access to work depending on what those things are. So for example, if you're using voice to text typing, they might pay for you to have a headset, or it might be if you need particular screen colours, like a filter to go in front of your screen to make the words settle down on the screen, things like that, then that would be something that they might find within their budgets anyway, as those items might be a fairly small cost. But if, for example, you needed to have an assessment on your dyslexia with an occupational therapist who's specializes in dyslexia, then that might be something that they think, well, we need to get some funds to pay for that, and you might discuss that element with them. Not all employers are aware of the access to work scheme, so if you do have a reasonable adjustments meeting with them and they don't mention it, then do bring it up, because quite often employers will be quite pleased to find out that maybe there's someone else who can pay for these things rather than them, and that can help things move along. So there you go. That is basically Access to Work. It's a very useful thing. It's there to help people get back into work or to maintain their employment, even if they're disabled. You don't have to have a PIP claim in place or anything. When I went through this, didn't ask me about PIP at all. So it doesn't necessarily follow that you have to have PIP or anything like that to access this, but you may need to provide some medical evidence. Now, after you've submitted your claim, you may get a phone call from them to talk to you about your application and ask you some questions. It's not, as far as I'm aware, it's not as stressful a situation as going through a PIP assessment. So yeah, so I forgot to mention that, but now that I've mentioned that, yeah, there we go. That's everything that you need to know to start making an application for Access to Work. And as I say, if you found this useful, then please do like, share and subscribe, and leave comments below of other videos that you might like to see me do on subjects like this. Okay, thanks for watching. See you soon.